let me take you back to the very beginning. How did you get involved in football?
I think it started back in London. I was born in London, in Peckham, and I used to always go and watch my brother play at Dulwich Hamlet, and I kind of just fell in love with it then, watching him go and training, and I'd always kick a ball around when he was there and stuff. And then me and my family moved to Bath, and I kind of started really wanting to get involved with the team, and I played for a local team called Bath Arsenal, and kind of found myself falling in love with playing little tournaments and stuff there, and ended up finding myself on a shield at the end of it with Scott Sinclair, who's obviously at Preston now, and it's funny because I'm really close mates with his cousin, and got picked up by Bristol City at that point, and came through the academy there, and kind of worked my way through, and yeah, I think it's been a journey for me that I've loved, and coming through the academy at a great club is brilliant, and the coaching that they've provided for me all the way through has been great.
Was your brother a good player?
He is. He'll kill me if I don't say he is. But yeah, he's all right. He's all right.
And was football in your family? Did your father, mother play?
There was sport in my family. My dad liked to say he had a wand of a left foot. I'm not sure about that, but he liked to say he did. And my mum was very into athletics, so there was always sport on. And my dad loved watching football, and he always went to footballing events and stuff, and always took us along. So there was always a love for football from a very early age, and I was kind of immersed in sport anyway. So it was always a very big sporting household, much to my mum's dismay. But yeah.
Yeah, as a parent myself, what kind of, were they shouty touchline parents, or were they kind of fairly laid back about things?
No. My dad was fairly laid back. He wasn't one to get involved unless there was a dodgy tackle or something. But my mum was always and still is, to be fair, the nervous type. Even now, watching me play, she still gets quite nervous. She tells me every time when she's watching me on TV and stuff, and she's jumping at the TV, and she's always screaming and shouting. But they're best. They're very supportive. So.
Good. Yeah, it strikes me you had kind of a good support network around you. How important is it to kind of sort of draw on kind of sort of people who give you that encouragement to play and get involved in sport?
Oh, massively. I feel like they could tell that there was a kind of single-mindedness and passion for sport and football from me and my brother. So to be able to draw on a big kind of supportive branch at home, I'd say there's obviously branches everywhere that you can pull from, but for me it was definitely a big one to pull from a family one, and I think that's massive going forward for anybody in their career, and I'm glad that I've got that to kind of pull on when things are going well and things are tough.
Speaking of perhaps tough times, have there been any particular challenges that you might have had to overcome to get where you are today?
Yeah, there's been I think the main one really that I can think of is kind of every year you kind of in the academy, there's only 1 year that you've kind of got to prove yourself, and to be able to actually step up every year and get to a point where you're maybe one of the 2 or 3 that gets pushed on to the next season and the next season and the next season. And I can remember 1 year when I think we were all fighting to get our scholarships. I think there was a bit of a question mark over me, and I remember getting mine the last out of everybody, and it was a few weeks after everybody got one, so it was a bit of uncertainty for me, and it was a big kind of year because I was leaving school, and it was like there was always like my parents saying, we want you to do this, but you always got to think of a plan B as well, and that was a time when maybe some players went and did their plan B, whereas for me it was a single-mindedness and determinedness that kind of wanted me to do this, and I was always going to kind of push for this. So there was a bit of an uncertain time then, but happily that I ended up getting the scholar and kicked on.
Yeah, what kind of advice would you give to young people? Because there is a lot of uncertainty now, especially with COVID, etc. Kind of, what would you say to a young person who's not sure and kind of sort of, perhaps they're not right at the top and they're not a guarantee to get a scholarship or progress? What would you say to a young player?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think it's a determinedness and a single-mindedness that definitely drove me, and kind of a point to prove. I think sometimes if somebody gives you a point to prove, you want to overcome it a bit, and I'd always just say, I think in a nutshell, it's just the fact of keep going. I think it's one of those ones where I know sometimes it's out of your hands, but if you can go in every day and make sure that you're the best person that you can be and the best player that you can be every day, then I think that's massive, and it goes a long way in the academy ranks and they'll spot that and notice it, and I think it's I think the one that I drive home is definitely a single-mindedness. I definitely had a single mind of I want to be a footballer and I want to get to this level, and that's definitely, like I said, drove me to get to where I am and hopefully where I want to be. So yeah, that definitely drove me.
In terms of role models, so as a player in the Bristol City Academy, did you have people you looked up to in the Bristol City first team?
Yeah, Obviously, Bobby was a big influence for me, and seeing him and do well, and I kind of had a similar pathway to him as well in terms of I went on loan and I came back and got sent out again and ended up getting into. He obviously got into the first team and solidified his place, and hopefully that's what I want to do. And he was definitely a big influence, even though he may not recognise it and knew it at the time. I definitely looked up to a player like him, and to see what he did and how he came through and stuff. It was definitely a big push for me. So definitely him.
And now you're starting to establish yourself in the Bristol City first team. Do you feel, as young as you are, a bit of responsibility to the younger players who perhaps are looking to the first team for role models?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially when you come through the academy, you want to be there for all the academy boys as well, and we've got a great crop coming through as well. So any chance I get to help out, I'll always try and put an arm around one of them and have a little conversation, because sometimes when they come up and train with the first team, it can be quite daunting. So if I just have a chat with them and loosen them up a little bit and make them feel like they can just go out there and perform in training, because I feel like it is a big test when you come up with the first team. You want to impress, you want to do your stuff, so I feel like if you're tense and you come up, you're not going to be able to do that. So if I can just help out and, like you say, just shoulder a bit of the responsibility and a bit of the tension that they've got, then I'll do that.
What is it like being in a team where there's a big mix of nationalities, cultures, ethnicities, etc.? How do you kind of sort of look at that, process all those different kind of people that you're coming around every day?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's definitely, it makes our team, I think. I think there's a lot of, like you say, there's a lot of people from different walks of life and different cultures, and I feel like we all embrace each other. I don't think there's any divide. There's just a team of lads that are around each other, and they want to do everything for each other, and there's definitely a good team cohesion here, and it doesn't really matter where you're from. It's just we kind of go in, each of us want to play football, and that's what we're doing, and like you say, it's great for like a young lad of obviously black background coming through and seeing black players in the team or any ethnicity in the team, and knowing that they can do that. So I think it's great to see that there's so many people from different cultures in the dressing room, and you look around and you see so many different faces, which is great.
Has that always been the case for yourself? So in every team you play, because for some players that's not the experience they have, is it?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, there's been some of my loans where there's probably been less of a cultural addition in the squad, but I mean I've never felt out of place anywhere I've gone. It's just sometimes it's just the way it is, and that's what obviously we're trying to do at the moment. There's a lot of players coming through that need to kind of maybe have that big bit of a push, and if they can see a face that's familiar in a team, then they might be able to not work a bit harder, but they might think, right, okay, that's possible. And I think at the moment it's a good time to be kind of talking about that and the conversations that are going on about that. So I think it's only a positive when you see players that are from all walks of life in a dressing room for young lads to see as well.
We've had a couple of incidents last season with Jay and Jojo in terms of abuse on social media. Have you had to experience anything like that yourself, either face to face or on social media platforms?
Yeah, no, I experienced it once when I was on my first loan at Accrington Stanley. So that was a bit of an eye opener. It was my first loan to a lower division. No disrespect to Accrington Stanley, but the ground was tight and the ball went out for a throw in, and I went to go get it, and the fan clearly didn't like me, and he held a bit of racial abuse at me, and I feel like there was a moment where I could have either thought to myself, right, I've got to just get on with the game, let it slide and just get on with it, or I've got to actually have the confidence to know that that's wrong and actually go and do something about it. So I ran over with the ball in my hand, I ran over to the ref and I said, this is what just happened. He stopped the game, he went and sorted it out, and I think that for me gave me the confidence to not take any of that sort of stuff, you know, and that's what my ethos will be to anybody, and I'll say that to anybody, that if anything happens like that, I just have the confidence to be able to know that it will get sorted. And it was definitely something that was an eye-opener for me, because I'd never really experienced that anywhere else. I'd come through academy here, and then I'd gone there, and it was all new for me, and that was definitely an eye-opener.
That's quite a kind of brave move for a young person, and that, you know, whatever form of abuse, for a young person to step forward and say this is not acceptable. Once you'd got over that threshold, did you feel more comfortable in terms of dealing with any particular situation? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that, like I said, that gave me the confidence to, if it was to ever happen again, I would be able to definitely know what I need to do, know the steps to take, and make sure I deal with it the right way. And also create awareness to it. If I didn't say anything, then that fan might have gone and done the same thing next weekend to another black player. So if me stopping the game and getting it sorted the right way has stopped something else happening in the future, then that's brilliant for me and for everybody, you know. So it was definitely an experience that I could have. It was on a knife edge what I was going to do, but I'm happy that I chose that decision.
We've talked about different cultures and ethnicities. In terms of Black History Month, which is what we're celebrating, how important is it to celebrate those role models that you've had in your career, and also, you know, to highlight the issues that are still carrying on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from where we've come now, at the moment, we're talking about it. There's a lot of conversation about it, and that's better than just having 1 month, because you can't have a whole of Black history into 1 month. So it's a lot of awareness to the right things, and like you say, celebrating the role models that have come before and stuff. So I think it's only doing good at the moment, talking about it, creating awareness, and like we say, taking the knee before the games, the Black Lives Matter movement and all that sort of stuff. It's brilliant to have at the moment, and we've just got to make sure that in 6 months' time we keep it going, and it's not just a trend that's now, because it is an important thing to keep talking about, and to keep having conversations and education about it is what we need to have.